What's up, YouTube? We are live again. We're going to be talking about Black folks and religiosity. I didn't even Google to see if that was a real word. But anyway, religiosity that's dealing with religion, the act of being religious. So yeah, we did a little live last week, but we had some technical difficulties. So this is the redo. So yeah, my thought process is with black folks that are Western adjacent or in the Western world, whether it's due to colonization or just the transatlantic slave trade, chattel slavery, or whatever you want to call it in the U.S. and other places throughout the Western Hemisphere, you have black folks that are very sought in and or not sought in, but they are very attached to their religious beliefs, form of it. It is, and it's mainly Christians, Christianity. The Roman Catholic Church was the cause of a lot of the Protestant uh, sects that we have today in the Western world. Matter of fact, we have so many different sects of Christianity now. I done lost count. So let me do a little quick Google search and just see. And I'm not going to leave the Muslims out as well because you do have a lot of followers of Islam that are black as well. Wow. Yes, so many Christian denominations. Um, yeah, there's too many to name. I'm not going to even get into that. But anyway, you have the Church of the East, the Oriental Orthodoxy, the Eastern Orthodoxy, the Roman Catholic Church, the Protestants, and the restorational churches as well. Uh, a lot of what you see here in the U.S. and a lot of Western adjacent places are Protestant and Catholicism, and then you also have the Sunni Muslims as well. So I'm gonna play some stuff for y'all today, and we have a panelist on in the back as well. We're gonna bring him on as well. So let me bring him on real quick. What's
Yo,
up?
what's up? What's up? What's up? How you feeling, Jaffre?
Okay, I'm doing all right. I see a connectivity thing now since you came up. So let me see.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna see if I can play this TikTok video. It should be good because I'm doing the incognito. But we've been having a solar storm, so I'm thinking that has a lot to do with the connectivity too.
Hmm.
With the Wi-Fi, the satellites, and all that stuff.
I didn't know there was a solar
Um,
storm. Is that what the what's it called the Northern Lights thing was about?
yeah. So yeah, it actually excited it caused the northern lights to be visible in parts of Virginia, Kansas, Oklahoma. That's very far south compared to the poles. But
Hmm.
anyway, let me let me send this to. Let me see if I can play this TikTok video. We heard a little bit talking about. I personally think that um, particularly Black Americans in this instance, and also other adjacent Black groups that are have been influenced by colonization have been made more docile, especially the Christian sects, because of uh, their religious beliefs. I believe people have become complacent and less motivated to enact social change. People one thing people say we're in the end times. So I guess some people's thought process is that, if we're in the end times, why try to change something that's destined to happen? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But anyway, let me see if I can play this real quick. Mute myself real quick. So, Ron, can you let me know if it's an issue, like if you can't hear it, or if it's very choppy? Can you stop me
Mm-hmm.
if it's
Okay.
playing when I start to share it? Okay,
Yeah, we'll do.
I appreciate you. All right. Can you see the screen with the guy?
Yeah, I can. Whether or not it
Okay.
plays
All right. I'm
quickly,
about to play
that's
it
another
now.
question.
I'm gonna actually, yeah, I'm gonna actually mute myself, so that might alleviate some stuff too.
It's and that
Nah,
actually is fine.
I don't see it.
We as even
It's still paused on my end. Yeah, it's not working. Do you want to email me the link?
So you said it was choppy.
Yeah, I didn't see anything. I saw literally just like mumbles, and
Okay,
the video
hold
didn't
on
play
one
at
second. I'm
all.
gonna actually. It didn't play at all. Well, I
Yeah, it
hit
didn't play at
play.
all for
It's a
me.
delay. It is a delay at the for the thing. So let me try it one more time. Uh, okay. Yeah, because I've been seeing some other people with StreamYard. They've been having these issues. So,
Damn.
all right. So let me try it again.
Mm-hmm.
Let me close this one out. And yeah, there we go. All right.
it's more reasonable that a god was invented by humans than that a god actually exists. Making up with no example of it actually existing. It's more probable, reasonable, and logical to conclude that gods are created up by human beings than that God of a God who or gives evidence of himself.
Yes, I didn't see that much of that. Um, saw a couple. It's better than last time you tried to play it, but this time it was. I mean, it was a little better, but still a
Yeah,
little
I
bit
actually
choppy.
was listening to it. I was listening on it. Yeah, I was listening to it on another screen, and it looked like it was coming pretty good on my end.
Okay, so it might just be my
So
end then, maybe.
yeah, this connectivity thing, and I'm using this time I'm doing incognito. So anyway, um, let me
Yes.
try. Let me play another one. But yeah, basically what the guy was just talking about, he was just saying, and I agree with this now as an atheist. I feel that a lot of things that, well, for instance, a lot of the way a lot of people talk about when you hear people say spiritual, not religious, these people they take parts of what they grew up on and parts they rejected, and they created their own God. And the more recent that a religion is, the more you should question it. When you look at the Church of Latter-day Saints, not trying to single them out, but they're a sect of Christianity that was more recently developed. or established, and those you need to really think critically if you want to be a follower of them. For instance, versus someone like in the Catholic Church, where they've been established. Not saying that one is right, one is wrong, but that's just something to think about there. Really, are we truly created in God, or is God created in our image?
Yep.
So I'm gonna mute myself though a little bit, and I'm gonna see how it's playing the playback. But I'm gonna play another, and I'm gonna listen to it. So you can mute up if you want.
Okay.
I'm back. It's something happened. It's not like I wanted.
As a scientist, do you believe in God?
To build 250,000 people in Indonesia. An earthquake, they killed 250,000 people in Haiti. And I see earthquakes and tornadoes and disease, childhood leukemia. And I see all of this and I say, I do not see evidence of both of those being true simultaneously.
As a scientist, do you believe in God?
Every description of God that I've heard holds God to be all-powerful, very typical, and all good. And then I look around and I see a tsunami that killed 250,000 people. They killed 250,000 people in Haiti. And I see earthquakes and tornadoes and disease, childhood leukemia. And I see all of this and I say, I do not see evidence of those being simultaneously. If there is a God, the God is not for all. Can't be both. But it's one thing, but to be faith-driven, people who don't share your faith,
right,
that's the beginnings of a theocracy. And we have evidence of what that is in the past. And our founding fathers specifically founded this country to prevent that from happening.
Okay. Yeah, so it was a little choppy still, but I mean, I'm gonna put a link in the description for you guys to look at the videos again. But it was actually pretty decent from what I heard on the replay. So it was a little choppy, but I played it over again. So hopefully, guys, you can hear that, and you can refer to what I've linked in the description. But what are your thought processes on this run when it comes to Black people in religion?
I'm not. I think I've changed up a little bit when it comes to my opinion on Black people being more docile. Like, I don't think religion makes us more docile, but I do think that like my only experience with that whole sense of like religious like blindness when it comes to someone's like religious but they don't really. And well, the only time anybody has told me that they believe that there's going to be an end times and that it's okay for bad things to happen is somebody who like it's one person, but I think that like it's also the things that she does in life that brings her to believe that it's okay to kind of like let things go the way they are. Like it's not just a religion. It's like she also believes that like she's in a karmic right. I believe. Like I think that's and so I think actions wise maybe like I think our actions or I think a religious person's actions that they deem karmic good is what makes people kind of docile. Like it's not necessarily the like religious aspect. It's like what we feel like we are doing towards something just what keeps us from actually focusing on stuff that actually might change things. Well, focusing on the right things. Not just focusing, but most of that I want to focus on the actions themselves. Like I feel like some people like go to do community work and then like they kind of do other things or they give like money to like people or like on the street or whatever. And those kind of actions kind of like keep us from like I don't know like it can keep somebody from actually realizing like oh no like you actually have to do like you got to do that like yourself or whatever but, like or like I don't know like overall I don't think that it's religion that does it like because it's like there's certain type of people I guess too like it's not just religion I don't think do you think like religion that kind of just like makes people do that or like what's your take on that like
Well, as you could hear, Neil the scientist was talking about when people usually believe in something, they don't just feel in that okay, I believe the way I believe, and this other person can believe the way they believe. As you can see, a lot of people try to impose their beliefs on other people because they have superiority where they either have a superiority complex where they think that the way that they believe or the way that they think is better than someone else. Okay, we're gonna bring on Aaron. But what's up, Aaron? What's up? Yeah, we might have some connectivity issues. We might have some connectivity issues, but I think we should be good overall. Yeah. But like I was saying, I would say that it's people try to separate the thoughts or the actions from the beliefs, but I personally from experience and anecdotal evidence, people try to say that they do that. It's just like I'll reflect on being a Christian. So like when people say you hate the sin but you love the sinner, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But people don't want like look at the I don't want to talk too much about this, but look at the agenda that they say that's going on with homosexuality. Most people they don't want their kids, being taught being sexualized in school with a lot of these doctrines and stuff like that. So I think it's a thin line between that. And most of the time, people they're not just wanting to go and be benign with what they believe. They want to enact legislation. It's not just like we're in an echo chamber. I mean, they want to be in an echo chamber in essence. Yeah. Look at abortion. I mean, we can name it. We can name all these different types of social issues that are considered, or they're made moral because of religious beliefs. In the U.S.
Echo chamber. Yeah, that's what you said.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Aaron, we was talking about. I played a couple of TikTok clips, and I'm gonna the people that's watching, they'll be able to see it in the replay. I'm gonna put a link in the description. But we had one guy that was talking about, God beliefs. Like this guy was an atheist. He was saying, what would be more probable? Would it be that people created a God or God created people?
Okay. Are you asking me like, which one do I?
So that's basically
off of that.
Yeah, something like that. Like the chicken or the egg, which came first. Stuff like that. Let me see if this other guy. Yeah, but in general, the talk is, we were talking about religiosity and Black people, and particularly in the Western Hemisphere, because this is where we are in Western adjacent places, like in certain parts of Africa. Um, yeah. So, with colonization and slavery and stuff like that, well, our experience, I would say our experience is a little bit different, maybe a whole lot different than the people that's like in the continent of Africa, because I mean, it was just the way I believe, the way the doctrine of the Bible was introduced was a little bit different. For instance, slaves, they couldn't read. The only thing they could read was the Bible at one given time. So, that was a different dynamic. In Africa, you had the missionaries that came over, and they, introduced the word to the locals and stuff. But what do you think? Do you think I know you're a Christian, so you might not agree with me, but my thought process is that religiosity in general, whether it's Islam or Christianity, it makes Black people more docile. I would say it's more on the Christian side, but that's my opinion.
Man, of course I'm gonna disagree because I don't think it makes Black people either one. I mean, to be honest with you, I think that argument can apply to any religious group. I mean, it can apply to any group. Like, it can apply to being an atheist, in my opinion.
Yeah, but the reason why I say that, because I look at the way Black people move, particularly in the U.S. and even in the continent, the way they move, particularly Christians. We, well, let me stop saying we, because I'm not a Christian now. But I would say Christians, they move a certain way. A lot of people have an interpretation of God as being, just and kind. So everything that's happening or that will happen is in His will. So why try to change it, or why try to do anything about it? Why? I mean, just pray about it and hope that something changes.
Yeah.
Or
I kind of want to add
anything
to
of
that.
speaking to. Hold on. Even the thing of speaking things to existence. People say that, people talk about stuff. I'm speaking something into existence, and then they don't put any effort or work behind it. But yeah, what were we about to say, Juan?
I was saying that, like, I do think that I think that a little misconception is that people have about Christianity is that, and like, I'm not a Christian myself, but I do think that, like, there's a different sort of yin and yang when it comes to Christianity. Like, we kind of like, when what I get from some people when they like tell me a story about it is like, it's not like about just a just and fairness. It's about, like, you have God on one side being just and fair, and you have the devil on the left side, and they're kind of like going back and forth in the world, and it's like kind of like a constant battle. So it's never like nothing's fully in control in a sense, because there's a back and forth. And so I think you can kind of use that to be like, oh, like, how is God like how is God in all control of everything? Like, how is their plans? Like, no, it's like it. I do think that, like, if the story holds true in that idea kind of presents an idea of a constant shifting nature of it, which would make it less controllable, so you could say that could be a case against that, like, because there is destruction or there is negativity in the world, and there's like mass destruction, like tsunamis and stuff, that God doesn't exist. It's like, no, I mean, or God is an unfair God. Like, no, like, it's like, there's a lot going on in that world. I feel like it wouldn't be just one person controlling everything. So, but again, I'm not a Christian, but I'm saying, like, I'm making a case for understanding or being able to, like, kind of make a case for like, it's not just one thing. Like, it's a little bit minimal. I feel like it wouldn't be. I'm making a case for the idea of it being a lot more complicated than just one guy controlling every single thing that happens at every single day or every single, like, time frame. I don't know if everyone wants to chime in and give 2 cents about that.
I mean, so I'm gonna say, all right. So I'm gonna speak because I'm a Christian. So I'm gonna speak in this aspect, and I mean I got a little questions for as well, but and like Ron, you kind of right in the aspect of it's bigger than it just being like one, it being like God controlling everything. In a sense, it's like God. See, this is one of I feel like it's the misunderstanding when it comes down to Christians and like what it really is, because there's a lot of confusion going on within the world, and I guess with how we all grow up and stuff like that. But once you actually read the Bible, you actually see like it's actually very simple. It's not as complicated, but it's a lot of things that goes into why the world, in my opinion, the way the Bible explains it, the reason why the world the way it is. Like tsunamis, all these things that we don't explain and don't pin on God specifically, is specifically because of sin. But for people to understand why the world works, is people have to understand how sin works in and of itself. So it's like we to blame all the bad things or blame all the stuff purely on the devil, it would be wrong, because it's like you take no self responsibility on stuff. The devil only tempts you to do things that you kind of already thinking for yourself, or that you might not have already thought. And then God is there on the aspect to provide grace and mercy for the things that we do, unknowingly or knowingly. So it's like God, yeah. So it's like God's not doing things. Let me say this in the aspect: God is not. I personally don't get God being like the all-loving, he's coming to save you, like superhero type of savior that people try to, that most pastors preach on, because there is a salvation message that you can get from the Bible, but most pastors preach on that most of the time to get like a certain reaction out of you, which depending on where you're at in your relationship with God, depends on what type of message you should be listening to. Like, if I'm a new believer, I will be listening to more messages like that pertain to me and the starting level of my relationship with Christ than compared to somebody who's been a Christian, who's read the Bible, who's been like 5-10 years. They should be rehearsing or going or hearing the same type of message that's going to get them further or understanding God. So realistically, it's not like a cookie cutter like, oh, here's the problem, here's the answer. But realistically, I mean, I feel like any Christian will tell you the real problem with anything is really the problem of sin. It's not the devil. It's not demon. I mean, we do battle against spirits and principalities, but realistically, it's the problem is us in the battle with sin, not us in the battle against the devil. Like, God has already taken care of that battle. So like when people talk about like, oh, if it's in God's will, you have to be living in God's will in the first place to even know that if it's in God's will. Like, things happen outside of God's will. So things that happen outside of God's will is God being outside of God's presence. So it's to understand that concept, you have to really understand the Bible. But it's not like God's will is defined and all-knowing, all-powerful, and it happens every single day. There are things, sin is outside of God's will, but it happens every single day. So it's not like we operate in God's will. You have to make a choice to operate within God's will. But you only know that if you have a relationship with God. So I know the concept's kind of hard to understand, because you literally have to read the word and have an intentional relationship with God to understand it. It can't be like okay, this is what it is. It's not like a science project or like going to school, reading it, and this is the answer. It actually requires an actual intentional relationship.
So when it comes to like lives, though, I'll let you go, Jeffrey.
I'm saying, but this is what actual theologians and philosophers they talk about, and they present questions like this. People that actually, I'm gonna have to see if this is playing clear, because I keep seeing this connection symbol. But yeah, these people that that are into like theology and philosophy and stuff, they actually genuinely do answer and ask these questions, or try to answer these questions they present. So I would say that's why you have so many different sects of Christianity, for instance. One person I think I was telling Ron about the Mormons, the Church of Latter-day Saints. Something that's more, something that's more, something that, so a religion, for instance, that's more recent, that you really need to get that and the why, because a lot of look at the Roman Catholic and then the Protestant movement that occurred in rejection to the Catholic Church. You know, those people, they rejected a lot of tyranny, the way the Catholic Church was moving during those times. So you had, you know, different versions of the Bible. You had different sects of Protestant religion. Well, you didn't really have too many different then, but then as it evolved, you know, especially in the U.S. during the independence from Great Britain and stuff like that, and other times, you had these different movements of Christianity, of the Protestant movement and stuff like that. I kind of almost lost my train of thought. I was going to research how many sects of Christianity that kind of is always changing, because like somebody comes up with something almost daily, you know. But it's about like 6 or 7 main categories of
so I'm gonna say this is my thing though. Like, so let me say this. This is what always confuses me. I got a question though. This is what always confuses me. What is the difference? And because I'm gonna say this, I can understand the confusion or it comes off like, because it's Catholicism, Mormons, there's different denominations within the church. We're talking about AME, Methodist, Baptist, all those type of things. Like, yes, that is I guess that's a factor that plays into religion. And if you really go down into it, like some of the things that separate all those is like, whether you believe communion should be on the first Sunday or the fourth, whether you believe being baptized once, or do you think religious to be baptized as much as you see forth. Like, it's little things like that that separate them. So it's like, what's the difference in that being Christians doing that and then anything else? Because you got some Muslims believe there's Orthodox that believe they can wear their hijabs all year round. Some only wear it during the holy season. And you got some Buddhist people who believe they can wear the Buddhist monk outfits, and some of them don't. Like, there's so many religions that have different renditions of it, but it's like only when Christians do it, it's like there's an issue. So I just don't understand why is it so much of a problem? Because realistically, like, I feel like you're like, everybody can spotlight bad apples and stuff, but it's like only when Christians do it does it become a problem. Only when Christians do it does it become like, oh, we're throwing it in your guys' faces. But like, realistically, to be very honest, we didn't get the Bible through slavery. That was one of the ways that we got it, but we actually had the Bible prior to that. So it's not like it's like the first time or anything like that we got it. That was one of the ways that we had it. If I'm not mistaken, one of the disciples died in Ethiopia. So prior to there being missionaries and all that, bringing it to those, like, one of the disciples died literally in Ethiopia, one of those African countries. So it's like, we can't just because we got the Bible one way. And realistically, some of the slaves figured out when communicating with each other that they was already reading the Bible in their home country anyway, which I learned in the African American Studies class in college. So it's like, honestly, if the Bible was used as a weapon, because it's like anything, if you're trying to teach people stuff, you could take a little messages out of it and make it a different story. We've done it with history a lot. So I just think it's interesting how, like, we could spotlight just little things about, you know, the Christian belief, for people who believe in, let's just say, Jesus and God, the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, because Catholics and Christians aren't really the same. Like, they're not. They're two different ones. But
right, sir, on the Muslim, I'm gonna get on the Muslims too. I was gonna have this one guy come on, but I don't think he's coming on. But okay, just look at this though. Look at this. What I have around my neck. Look at this symbol right here. What is this? The cross, right?
What is that? A rosary?
So a lot of people
but you're wearing a rosary, right?
It's a cross. What's that?
But it's a rosary though. It's a cross on a rosary. You have a rosary. That's a praying. That's technically a praying necklace.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah, I know what that is.
Yeah. Yes, but I'm just the actual cross. It depicts Jesus, the crucifixion of him. So the thing that's funny about that, I'm gonna get on the Muslims, but the thing that's funny about that, you know, just the fact that some Christians wear that, or even have that in the church, or like white Jesus, or any depiction of Jesus, they consider that like it's a guy that I wanted him to come on. He would have been really good to explain this, but it's considered idolatry or whatever. You know, some people believe that. You know, and that's the reason why he and his and in his theory, he was saying that's the reason why he was getting to the point. It was a long story. He's saying how God doesn't answer prayers. But when you look at the Muslims, they do have different sects as well. But you really have two categorizations of Muslims. You have the Shiite Muslims and you have the Sunni Muslims. You know, the Sunni Muslims are the traditional Muslims that we know and love, I guess, if you have friends and stuff like that. And then, you know, you have the Shiite. They're the ones that are, you know, they give the quote unquote, they give the religion a bad name. But I would say when you look at any person that's truly religious, they wouldn't, if you're not a part of their religion, they wouldn't be your friend in essence. So
why would you say that?
No, I'm saying, well, I can't say this for Christians, the Protestant Christians. I probably say this for a Catholic person that I've tried. They didn't contact me because I told them about some of the ways I believe and stuff like that. And they just disavowed me or whatever. They didn't contact me anymore.
Well,
I have tried to.
To me, in my opinion, Catholics is like, I guess you would consider I'm saying for like on the Christian side, for all the stuff that falls in the Christian category, I would feel like they're like the bad representations of Christians. I wouldn't even put like Christians who try to push stuff in your face. Like, I personally think Catholicism is a big like idolatry.
I mean, it's a cult.
Right.
It's a cult.
Yeah.
I mean, a regular Protestant Christian would consider them a cult. If you look at some of these religious channels, they list different cults, and the Roman Catholic Church is considered one. But anyway, like I was saying, someone that's truly religious or they follow their doctrine really well, if you're not part of their religion or you're apostate or something like that, they're not going to deal with you anyway. I'm just being honest. But that doesn't denounce whether the person is a good person in their religious standing or whatever. But I'm just saying I have noticed that when you're dealing with someone that's truly they adhere to their doctrine or whatever, like come from among them and stuff like that, and don't deal with these people. But anyway, I wanted to see if this guy's coming on, the Muslim guy. I don't mean to call him Muslim guy. I know him. But I'm looking at the text message now. Okay, hold on. I'll send this link again. But this is for. But I would say the thing that I have, the thing that a lot of people that are looking at it from the outside, and I've heard this a lot. Christians, they don't. A lot of particularly Protestants, like Baptists, these other sects, especially in the South, they modify the word into their liking or likeness to adhere to what they want to do or whatever. Muslims, for the most part, you look at fasting, for instance, like doing Easter. Do you fast? For the Passover and all that stuff, like prior to actual Easter?
You telling me?
Yeah.
No.
It don't have to be personal. It don't have to be personal about you, but I'm just saying in general. I was just
asking because I wasn't sure if you was talking to me for a second. I was zoned out.
Yeah, but you said you don't fast or anything in preparation for Easter, or you don't take a certain thing that you sacrifice. Like for instance, not eating during a certain time of the day. But that's what fasting is.
I will, but I take fasting very serious. I don't think it's just something like. Well, again, this goes into me of your relationship with God. I take, because this is how I've understood and understand what fasting and the purpose of it is a lot deeper than a ritual. Every year we do the same thing. Like, yes, that's a part of the process, but the purpose of fasting is a lot deeper. So, because I don't feel like I'm in a place to really to really be fasting, no, I don't partake in it because it's not a game to me. It's not like I'm fasting for Easter. Kind of what you're talking about. To me, it's a lot more serious. I don't do it unless I'm actually in the right mindset, in the right spiritual aspect to do so. So no.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's the thing. So it's not to be personal, but even me when I was a Christian, I fast. It was only like a couple of times where I would maybe fast, where we talk like maybe like a revival or something, but it wasn't even doctrine like in terms of like how, you know, you look at the Muslims, for instance, you know, they have Ramadan. You know, Muslims, it's not have not that time where they fast, they don't eat until after 6 or whatever. I have a friend that's like that, and you know, he's not what you would consider a traditional Muslim, but he does adhere to those fasting and those rules and stuff, and not eating pork and stuff like that. So I would say Muslims to a T, though, they follow their doctrine a lot better and more than I would say Christians.
But
I
see,
would argue that.
But that's the thing. Like that's what we're trying. That's one of the things that I feel like people miss about understanding Christians. It's not about understand like
It's
that.
that's my answer.
But here's the
My
thing.
answer.
That's not that part. That's not the part of the purpose though. Like it's not meant to like. That's just separates Christians from everybody else and understanding God, Jesus Christ part of the Bible. Like it's not a like we're never going to be able to do it like that. Like the thing is, you look like a hypocrite if you fasting only during Ramadan, but then you out selling drugs, shooting people, and doing everything else on the side. Like if honestly, if God's the God that He is in the Quran or in the Bible, He's not going to look at your fast and honor that because you're not doing this stuff at heart. Like outside of fasting season, you could do things great for 30 days as much as you want. But what about even your mind or your heart while you're fasting? Like you could be sitting there praying to God, praying to God, and legitimately not trying to like focus on the fact that you still struggle with a bunch of sins, struggle with the fact that you still struggle with anger, struggle pride. Like there's things that aren't even like, oh, you're a liar or you're a killer. There's things that God doesn't like that are just regular human emotions that we should be in control of, that we don't even look at that are serious things. So that's what I'm saying. It's not the Christians were let's take it back to the beginning. Christians, Hebrew Israelites, they all had a tradition, like Jewish tradition, all that stuff is technically what Christians are supposed to be following if we follow our like textbook or follow our doctrine. But like we're never going to be able to follow the 10 commandments to a T by mind, by thought, word, and deed. Like we're not. Like we could probably do it by maybe deed, but we're not going to be able to just fully do the doctrine 100%. And like even if you think you are, you're coming off. You're for every pastor that thought they was doing it 100%, like literally they get caught out on some secret type of crazy stuff. So the purpose of really being a Christian is really to humble yourself every day, every hour, like realistically. But it's not about like for Christians when you really become a stronger Christian, you realize like it's really not about trying to like it's not saying making excuses for things, but it's not about trying to walk 100% and then be able to like it's not about that. Like it's not about being able to sit here and say, you know what, I fast on Easter, I pray every day, I make sure I tithe and offering the way we're so quote unquote like I give my money to the church. That's not even what tithe and offering it really even is. Like there's so many things that's like it's not about like textbooks. So which about other religions may seem like they do stuff better than Christians. It's like, but I personally don't think a lot of religions love better than Christians. I don't think they really give like the understanding of meeting you where you're at like Christians do. Like you don't have to be very honest here, the LGBT community is extremely more welcome and in the Christian community openly more than you see in other religions. Like in my opinion, like there's gay pastors, but you don't see, I don't know what you call Muslim leaders, but you don't see gay Muslim leaders. Like not saying that Christians, all agreeing on it, but I'm saying on the openness of like accepting people for what it is. Like Christians, there's pastors who give out needles to drug addicts. There's pastors who give out condoms to prostitutes. There's pastors who give out like they help out people who are actually struggling. But like we only focus on the pastors that like Creflo Dollar or people who are asking for money for stuff. Like we're not looking at the everyday pastors, the ones who are really at the heart trying to help people out. Like. So I just, like I said, I just don't always think that it should be focused on like people following things to a T because that doesn't mean nothing. Like there's serial killers out there who do perfectly fine operating in normal society, but like you would never know that they do crazy stuff behind the scenes because they follow whatever it is every day. So it's like, you know, trying to judge a religion off of who's like following a doctrine to a T is like, yeah. I mean, I feel like Christians are always going to lose at that because we literally, like, we tell people not to sin, and like there's several sins that we all do literally walking in. Greed is one of them. Gluttony, like lust, like every man lust. Like, I don't care what man you are, you lust. So it's like, what is
you could be asexual. No, I'm just
right. You know what I'm saying? Like that's something like it's always about the contents of your heart and your mind. Like in my opinion, like your actions. I'm not going to say that they come like probably like third or fourth on the list, but like realistically, we all know it's a little easier to. I'm not going to say it's a little easier, but it's easier to kind of build or destroy a habit that's a physical one, like smoking and stuff like that, getting healthier, than to like overcome like serious depression. Like, you know what I'm saying? Overcome like being suicidal. Excuse me. I don't know if we can say that on this platform, but like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's stuff, when it comes down to being a real Christian, it goes past the fairy tale, the honeymoon phase of like, oh, I'm a Christian, let me try to read my Bible every day. It's like, that wears off very quickly. Very quickly. So, but yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't want to go into like the whole way. I just don't think Christians are ever going to win the battle of like if we're ever following the doctrine 100%. We're not. Like, we're just not. Yeah, we're just not.
It's all good.
But when you
I enjoyed
you say that's the reason why they say that's why certain groups of people are. That's the reason why certain people are cursed, or why God doesn't answer prayers for certain groups of people, because they're falling from the law.
I don't think God answered prayers in the manner
the word
does. So I do agree with that. I don't think God answers prayers in the manner way people think he does. I think I said it before. Like, he's not a genie, so he's not. It's not like in the sense that he can. Like, you're gonna be, oh God, I need $1 million. So, oh God, my brother is sick, please heal him. Like, not saying that God's not going to do that, but he's not doing it on the behalf, like 100% of the behalf of you praying. Like, that all falls into the category of if it's really in his will. Like, even if him doing that miracle in that aspect is in his will, that's because it's in his will. It's not like I don't think prayer being answered is in the sense of like what people try to coach it up to be. I don't think it's the same thing. I think honestly, prayer is really, realistically, is just you having a real relationship and conversation with God. Other than like you can ask for things, just like if you're like, I like to think about God like this in a relationship, having like a parent. Like, you can ask your mom and dad for stuff realistically, but your relationship with your parents is not based off like what you asking and what they're giving. Like, it's really based off of like how you guys interact, like your emotional connection, like it's deeper than that. So it's like, you don't go to your parents when like expecting them to give you stuff, but like, you know that you can ask them for stuff, and if it happens realistically, if you can't, and I'm gonna just say this, if a good parent, they're gonna still give you what you need, but in the way that you need, not in the way that you want it. Like, and so that's how I see God answering prayers. Like, a lot of times I don't ever really see God, in my opinion, like answering prayers straight 100%. A lot of times I watch people, and this is just my experience of just being a Christian in life, and most Christian, most pastors that ministers I've been in contact with, like, the way God answers prayers is it's different. It's not like a straight direct, all right, my prayer is answered. There's always a process that goes into it. So it builds your character, builds your relationship with him, builds your trust with him. So there's a lot of things that goes into it. Like, prime example, Job. I don't know if you guys know the story of Job in the Bible, but God could have easily just made it very clear an example for the devil tempted Job, but he literally allowed like every bad thing to happen and still restored it in a process. It didn't just happen overnight. So it's like, it's not like I asked God for this and they did it. Like, a lot of people take that back to like the Israelites when they were battling and all this other stuff. Like, that's a different time, that's a different era, and things were different, like in the aspect of like what they were doing and what was needed then, compared to like as their relationship with God changed and became what it is more today. So, but yeah.
Okay.
I really think it's on interpretation though, because like I thought that what y'all said last stream about God answering prayers, and I have a whole multi-page document with different Bible verses that talks about in relation to God answering prayers to counter what you said, because not to start an argument or anything, or debate per se,
No, go ahead.
but it's really all interpretation, because I was always taught that God answered prayers. That was never a thing that God didn't answer prayers. So this one verse really stood out to me. It was from First John chapter 5, 14 to 15. This is not the King James version, but it says, "And this is the confidence that we have toward Him, that if we ask anything according to His will," so it says according to His will, He hears us. And if we know that He hears us in whatever we ask, we know that we have that request that we have asked of Him. So what does that say?
So keyword. So you have to understand what you read though. Keyword, if it's in His will. So when I first started talking just now, I said God answers prayers only if they're within His will. And I said to understand what His will is, you have to have a relationship with God. So if you're outside of His will, hold on. I said if you're outside of His will, you're outside of the will. You're outside of God. So realize what you said was anything within His will, He shall answer. So if you're praying, and even if it's not in His will, not saying He's not going to answer, like He's ignoring it, la 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 la. He's not going to answer in the sense of like, all right, if it's not in God's will for me to be prosperous or have money right now to, like, let's say make $100,000 a year, like be a successful career person right now, because He knows maybe I'm bad with money management, I have a drug addiction issue or whatever the case might be. But in His will, if I follow His laws, if I sit and change my ways, if I really change my ways of heart, in 5 years, I could be in that position because that's within His will. It's not in His will right now because I'm living outside of it. So I can't, even if I'm praying for it, it's not in His will for me to have that at this moment. So I'm not going to get that until I change my stuff and live in His will. So if you read that again, if it's in His will, it will be answered.
No, hold on. I got something else. I did this strategically.
No, go ahead. That's fine.
I did it strategically. So we have another verse, another chapter, Mark 11:24. "Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." And then First Thessalonians 5 and 17.
That's not guaranteed. Let's take it one verse at a time. And in the verse of Mark, that He's not guaranteeing that it will be answered. He's saying, just read it again, because it's not saying, like the first verse said, if it's in His will. So that's letting you know it has to be in His will. So throw that one out. Then the second one with Mark, it wasn't a guaranteeing.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying though. That's what I'm saying. So
you asking God to guarantee every single. That's what I'm saying. See, I feel like the expectation that people have on God is that just because you're asking for something, He has to.
It's not.
You're praying. It doesn't happen like that.
It's not necessarily an expectation. These people that believe God, that truly God, most of the time, I'm assuming they think that they're in His will. They could be slain in the spirit. I mean, let's say, for instance,
what do you think God's will is?
Well, I didn't really pray like that. I just had.
But you have to understand, what do you think God's will is? Yeah, what do you think God's will is? Because
how would I know what God's will is, though? So that's what I'm saying.
But realize that you said you thought that you would think that most people's prayers are in God's will, and so that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand. If you, in order to even be a Christian, you have to come out of self. So the thing is this: to understand everything that even happens or it's talked about in the Bible, you have to come out of self to even understand it. And and that's why I had to ask you, like, what do you think God's will is? Because you literally said you thought that most people's prayers will fall under God's will. But if you don't even understand what God's will is in the first place, which you would have to read the Bible to understand God's will, then you will understand it. But what a lot of people do is you read little parts of it, and which is fine. But if you're reading parts of it, you're never really going to understand the message of it. And if you're reading the Bible for like answer 1 + 1 = 2, you're not going to get it. Because it's like the Bible set up the same way you try to set up the questions. God is going to provide an answer, but it's not going to be the answer the way you want it. He's going to give you, the Bible gives you clear, specific answers and clear, specific ways of how God wants to be treated, how He wants to be spoken to, which is why He gives instructions on how to pray. Giving instructions on how to pray is not instructing you on how to ask God for specific things. It's giving you instructions on how to talk to God in the first place, on how to come at Him with respect. The same way you come at each other with respect, it's the same way the Bible teaches you how to pray. It's the same way it really teaches you how to have a relationship with God first and have a relationship with everybody else. But you can't understand that if you're looking at it trying to get answers about the world when the Bible is telling you that the world is wrong from the first place, off rip. The Bible literally tells you that the world is going to make up lies. It's going to take the Bible and split up into different words, different understandings. It even tells you in the beginning, God tells the Israelites that he's going to allow people to take their religion and twist it and make it a whole bunch of things. And all he's going to do at the end of it is come back, prove that he's the one true God, and literally set everything straight. So like, even all the stuff that we talk about, the fact that we have different denominations, if you read the Bible, God already told the Israelites that this will even happen. So that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, which part of the Bible is the interpretation thing you're just talking about? Because I've never actually heard that before. That God allowed there to be multiple interpretations.
On, you breaking up. Mind you breaking up. Say what you said again.
I never knew about the
say what you said again.
Okay. I never knew about that verse about or you that part of. Let me see.
So you for one thing, you have so many different translations of the Bible. Hold on one second.
Can you hear me?
It's the English Standard Version that I was reading this from. Getting some of these verses from the English Standard Version, not the King James Version. Yeah, but oh man, he went off.
Can you hear me, Phil? Because I mean, I think I might leave too. Because okay,
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, so
yeah, I can hear you.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, because I was actually about to head up too. Because it's already 9:00. But I'm gonna leave with this though. I didn't understand.
Okay.
Well, I did. Before I go, I really found that interesting how he was able to talk about how like God let there be different interpretations of the Bible, in the Bible. Like that's a very interesting thing. I never heard that before. You know.
A lot of people don't agree with that though. A lot of people don't necessarily agree with that though. So like I say, you have to read like. Oh man, I'm sounding like a Christian. So, like, to be honest, you can't just take his word for what he's saying, even though
it's not agreeing. Though. Look,
you have to actually.
You gotta read it. You gotta read Exodus. Look, to read the beginning part, read the first 5 books of the Bible. It's going to God literally is talking to the people.
It's funny too.
Say that again.
It's funny. It's funny that you make Exodus because we can talk about that in relation to slavery too, if you want to talk about that.
I mean, we can have all that conversation. I'm just saying, with God telling the people that He will allow it to happen, it was out of a punishment because they were not following His laws in the first place. Like all that happened because they started doing witchcraft, they started doing astrology, they started talking mediums, they started doing all this stuff. Like King Saul, the first king. One of the battles he was so scared. He was so scared. They had a ritual. They had a ritual where they would pray. Long story short, his priest died and he was scared to do whatever ritual they do, so he went to a medium and had the medium conjure up his priest spirit, which is clearly God doesn't like that. So his priest literally told him, like, what are you doing? This is a sin, God's not gonna like that. And literally God cursed them, and which is why we have King David. Like there's a whole bunch of curses that God has done to his people because they have not followed his way, which I keep trying to tell people. Like the concept of always thinking God is like this loving God. He does have loving aspects just like we do, but God has been very mean. Like he has punished, in my opinion, justly, in my opinion, from reading the Bible. Like that just happened. It happens. So like the whole fairy tale, like it's when you really crack the Bible open, you're gonna be like, wow, God was kind of like I hear why people say like God's kind of, there could be an evil aspect to God for certain things, because like looking at a human aspect, some of it's kind of crazy. But I mean, we could definitely talk about, like I said, the slavery aspect. I mean, all that, in my opinion, all that still is a curse or something that God, foreseen and told everybody about. So, in my opinion, yeah.
Okay.
I gotta go to Jaffre. This has been a really good talk though. And I thank you for the input, Aaron.
No problem, bro.
Cool. But I'll talk to y'all later. Hopefully see you on the next one. All right, man. Take care.
I'm not sure. Okay.
I couldn't hear you, Justin.
Did you want to continue to talk more about the Bible? We can talk. I said, did you want to continue to talk more? Because I really wanted some other people to come on. They would have because you don't want to be like an echo chamber, like, okay,
Yeah.
the religion makes people docile. I want somebody to challenge me. I had some people that was going to be challenging, and that would have had a nice counter to what you were saying. Because like, I don't purport to be a Bible scholar. I just know what I know, and I believe the way I believe and stuff. So, but Exodus, that's a nice chapter of the Bible, because it talks about, like you say, different laws and stuff. And it's just a good chapter if you want to really go Bible 101 and stuff.
Yeah, I would
But
definitely
I
agree.
did drop the
But
But in general, though, like when you look at the social issues that we have, so you look back, I would say that the Bible, Christianity has helped Black people a long ways. We have taken um, we've taken the Bible, we've taken the teachings, the hymns and everything. We've made it our own. Gospel music, the AME Zion Church, for instance, African American Episcopal Church. Um, and I just look back. I always reflect on the Civil Rights Act. You had Malcolm X, in Islam doing their thing, but really, one of the key players were Christian. You look at Dr. Martin Luther King. Let me see, name some others. Man, it's just the movement. A lot of people gathered and congregated in churches. That's the reason why they targeted some of these churches and stuff. And even during the time of slavery, that's where people, that's where the slaves learned, how to read, from reading the Bible and everything like that. And I would say that, but what would you say now? I mean, you're probably going to say that it still helps. Well, I'm not going to speak for you, but I personally think now that our luck has run out with Christianity in particular, when it comes to being agile and being apt to do social change. It's one thing to talk and pray and say that, I'm going to speak this into existence. I'm just saying this is, just from my perspective. But it's another thing when you actually, put forth the work, go out there, not necessarily protesting with a picket and a fence. Picket and a sign or whatever, but actually, go out there, talk to the lawmakers and stuff like that to enact change. Because I was telling Ron, some people believe that we're in the end times. So they believe that, everything that's going to happen is going to happen whether we do something about it or not. So what would be your thought process of what's going on now with Black people as a whole? How has the generations before us, how has that helped us, or how has that worked out for us now based on how, like, look at Baltimore, for instance, look at where we at in a lot of major inner city areas for Black people?
So I will say I'm a little conflicted on whether or not if I think the reason why I'm conflicted on it is because I just like I was mentioning earlier, I think anything could be weaponized and used for propaganda or for whatever political state movement that they needed. I want to say, in my opinion, thankful to God that it was Christianity and Muslim that were the two religions that Black people claimed to and was used, and that was there through slavery and through civil rights and everything. And in my opinion, not any other religion. That's just on the spiritual aspect. That's no disrespect to any other religion. I was talking that later, but I will say now, I think that it would be more beneficial for people if Christians and pastors were more real. And I'm not going to use specific pastors because some people I don't like really using people's names and pastors because there's a lot of mainstream stuff that goes on back and forth. And I feel like this conversation that Christians are having back, on the back end with themselves. But at the end of the day, I think the message that we're preaching today is still the same message that we're preaching in civil rights, which is not the same. Like it just, like I was telling you earlier, it's a relationship type of thing. So it doesn't benefit this generation, this group of people, the same way it benefited the people before. Which is, in my opinion, why a lot of people turned away from the church in our generation. And afterwards, it's not just from trauma and abuse and things like that that's happened, but I feel like it's also the fact that the message in the word that the message in the word that was being preached to us doesn't apply to us as our generation, or had applied to us in our generation. Like, we're a lot more smarter. So the whole emotional, get me round up, talk about prosperity, talk about, healing sicknesses and things like that. Not saying that we don't need that, but that's not, our generation is a little bit, I'm not gonna say past that, but we're off that elementary. I consider that to be a very elementary level of relationship with Christianity. Like going to church, tithing, hearing a message about forgiveness and, like I said, prosperity, like coming out of poverty and stuff. Like those are the main like messages preached into the Black church, not messages about like I was telling you earlier about contents of your heart, no action, taking self-responsibility for a lot of things instead of trying to blame the devil or blame the sin and all this other stuff, instead of like looking at yourself. So there's a lot of things like, I feel like it's hard for me to say yes or no to that, because I always feel like the Bible, to me, for anybody, whether you believe in God or not, like, I think it's just a book that if you don't believe in God, I think it's a book just like any other book, like you read, like Good Dad, Bad Poor Dad, or whatever that book was called, or any other book. I think it's a great read off rip. Like, even if you don't believe in religion or anything like that, but if you are a person who believes in religion or as a Christian, I feel like you need to take it a lot more serious than it just being like a answer manual for your problems, if that makes sense, or like your immediate problems, because of course it's the answer for all your problems. But so I think it's hard to say that, because it's like I don't know. It's just hard. It's hard to really give a hard, solid answer. I'm always going to think Christianity is beneficial for everybody, but do we get the benefits of always doing it? No, I don't think so. So yeah, it's a little hard on that.
I mean, personally, how much time you got left, by the way? Because I don't want to hold you up.
No, I got time.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I know we was talking about Black people, but I mean, we could have a little Bible lesson or whatever. I'm like, for me, I personally am comfortable talking about the Bible and stuff like that.
You said you're uncomfortable, or you're comfortable?
I say I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable.
I'm cool. I'm comfortable talking about whichever topic.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I might actually do another live. We might just I might like really make sure. I might have to like comp the guy, because this is one guy. He's really passionate about the Bible and stuff, and he would be really good to come up here. Maybe get a Muslim that's pretty solid in what they believe in too. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, personally, it's the information age or whatever, and people, you have now where you can just go and get your questions answered. I think it's more like people say it's a microwave society now that we live in, versus like back in the day, they didn't have all these resources. They had to actually get a dictionary and encyclopedia to do this and that. Mm-hmm. Versus today, you can just be exposed to different cultures and stuff on the realm. That's the nature of this country. Right. It's very diverse as well. So you can just start talking to somebody and start inquiring, because I didn't know much about Muslims or Islam until after I got graduated from high school, because I was doing my transition of not being a Christian anymore. I was introduced to Islam. And I was always thinking, when you're not knowledgeable, ignorant is not necessarily a bad word. It's just the fact of you not knowing something or being oblivious to something. It can be used as an offensive word, but I mean, I was ignorant to what the only thing I knew was Christianity. So I didn't know anything about Hinduism, nothing about Islam. I just knew like the Hindu people, they were Indian, and that's not even true. You got other cultures that are a part of the Hindu faith, and I thought the Muslims, they beat the wives and stuff like that, but no, that's not true.
Right.
in every aspect. So it's just I think that was the bad part for me, being exposed to so many different cultures. If that hadn't happened, I probably would still be a staunch Christian, maybe a pastor or something.
But I will say this. I will say this, Jeff. The thing is that what happens with you is what's supposed to happen in your walk with Christianity. Not saying that everybody's supposed to lose their faith, but and I tell this to you all the time. You're supposed to question God. God actually tells you in the Bible to use your critical thinking skills in regards to Him. So it's not. You're not wrong for that. And I'm gonna just say this: if or when you do find your way back to Christ, it'll be a better relationship because you have a solid relationship from your own choice and own understanding. So it's not like you're doing it because you were raised in the church. It's not like you're doing it because you're used to all that stuff. It's an actual intentional relationship. So like anytime, it don't matter who I'm talking to. I could be talking to a Buddhist. I could be talking to a Muslim. I have Muslim friends. I've had Muslim friends since I was in like 8th grade. So I've had Jehovah's Witness friends. I've had a very wide range of like multicultural friends in different religions, things like that. So when it comes down to it, like it for me, we've all had that, like, I feel like we all had that moment of like, all right, make a decision rather than not. But your relationship becomes an intentional relationship. So I've had plenty of conversations, and I don't even really like talking too much on other religions without I don't want to say representations or representatives or things like that. But with other people who are actually of that faith belief to be here and maybe correct me on some stuff, because I'm not proficient in every religion myself either. I've just been very interested in just the topic of like religion, spirituality, things that aren't tangible, like stuff of this world. Like I know for a fact that there's a spiritual world. So that's always intrigued me more. And because in my opinion, Christianity always provides like a actual understanding of that, in my opinion. It contributes to one of the other reasons why I just think Christianity is the truth. It might not always provide the exact fact that you're looking for, but to me it always provides the truth, which is, two different things. So and quoting this out the Bible, God says, "I'm the one true God." He never says, "I'm the only God." But he always says, "I'm the one true God," which states that he's the God, like, what I'm saying, the top one. So it's like he's never saying that there are other gods, all these other little, stuff that created these things. So for me, that's just like, it's a little easier. But no, I definitely I definitely can actually see that. Where it's a lot of confusing stuff, and I don't fault people. I don't fault people. I don't think it's hard why people don't understand or maybe find it confusing. But I think the simplest way for people to first start off understanding God, understanding Christianity, or even understanding what's the premise of it, is understanding like you have to have a relationship with God first. If you don't see God as a being to even have emotions, feelings, and things like that, then you're already on off to a bad start in the belief in and of itself, because you already don't believe that God has emotions. Like he needs a relationship, like. Yeah, if you look at the Bible, he's had relationships with literally since the beginning of time. So, once you got to read the Bible for exactly what it's saying, but then you also got to be able to read and understand what's actually happening in front of it. Like the 7 days of creation, it's not just the 7 days of creation. It's also like there's other things that happens in that timeline and stuff that falls into it. So
yeah. But see, my thing is, it's just like, which I don't struggle with this because I don't really give it thought now. But it's just like, I hear what you're saying, but you have somebody that completely disagree with what you're saying. They consider themselves a Christian, And I know what you were saying earlier, but like I'm saying, if that's nonsense. In my opinion, that's nonsense. I mean, didn't the Bible say that if one tittle of my word should fail, or if it was be a conflict that heaven and earth should pass away, it's, to me, I see a lot of contradictions, and just the fact, even if someone, I was saying, doesn't the scriptures talk about if tittle of my word shall fail, or contradict itself, heaven and earth shall pass?
Right. So basically, what God
You
is
heard
saying
me?
is, yeah. Basically, what God is saying is, if what He's saying ever contradicts itself, and this is, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know, I haven't heard it in that way. So you probably have to find the exact verse for me to really
That's,
identify.
that's something that pastor always. Hold on one
No,
second.
you're
I'll
fine.
find the verse. My
Yeah, no
pastor used
problem.
to.
But what I'm saying is, no, but I'm saying is this. You can find it while I'm explaining. But what I'm saying is this. Basically, it sounds like what you're saying is like what you're trying to get across is God saying if His word contradicts itself, basically chaos will break out, right?
No, it says. Well, it could be. It depends on how you translate it, or how it's interpreted. But let's look at the King James version. I think the English Standard Version is better because it's more literal. It's more literal,
So
to be honest.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think the king. I'm gonna always to vote for it, and this is me on the spiritual aspect. So I do agree with you. There's Christians who may disagree with certain things, which is why I can explain why that's okay because it's supposed to be like that, and I can point that. I'm gonna pin mark that one. But my thing is, the King James version of the Bible to me is the version of the Bible that we should typically be using because to me it's the most unedited version of the Bible, and it's what actually supposed to be in there, in my opinion. Without certain things being changed. I know people disagree because they think King James version of the Bible is slavery and all that, attached to slavery, whatever. I could put a whole article on that one, but regardless of that, I don't. I'm gonna say this again. I don't see contradiction.
I said as many times I went to Bible study and the pastor said that I should know this verse by heart.
No, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this though. It's when we're reading the Bible, I'm always says when we're reading the Bible and you have to understand it and you're trying to understand it, you really got to read it for the context of what we're actually reading it in. So I'm gonna say I've never heard that, but even if, like I said, once we get the context, I can easily understand it or try to understand it. But again, to me, it's coming off as if God is saying if there is any type of contradiction or anything that He's saying that could be faulted, there will be turmoil, basically, like there'll be chaos.
Okay, here we go. Let me double check. Let me make sure because this is no. You said you had some stuff that you wanted to play too as well. You're using your phone though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So this is not it though. This is not it. Okay. Hold on, I'm gonna take this off, but let me say security a little bit off why look at this. Make sure I have the right. Yeah, we're talking the Bible and contradictions. Why contradictions? Aaron disagrees. So, like for instance, let's say, man. So, like even like about the some of these verses from God answering prayers. It's not really a contradiction, but it's up for interpretation that could lead to a contradiction. And I've always, one of my pastors as a kid, he said that if one dot or tittle of God's word shall fail, heaven and earth shall pass away. So I think I have it, but I doesn't. Let me just pull up the Bible itself.
So I'm gonna say I don't think things are up for interpretation when it comes down to the Bible. I think people have to read the Bible for exactly what it actually says. Like instead of trying to take it from, let's go to John chapter 3, verse 2, and only read verse 2, 3, and 4, and try to get what we only can get out of verse 2, 3, and 4. Like you need to read the whole chapter of the Bible. You need to understand what verse 2, 3, and 4 even comes from to even understand that.
Yeah,
So it's like
yeah, exactly. Just doing,
but people never do that though. Like a lot of the times when people are reading things from the Bible, like what you're doing, like you're reading it for
yeah.
that one verse of the Bible, but you're not reading the context. A lot of times, like people talk about, I can give you one contradiction. People always try to say, well, if Jesus Christ is God, why did he pray to himself? And like, what people don't understand is just because Jesus Christ is God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a movement now where people are saying that Jesus isn't God or that
Yeah.
Jesus wasn't the Son, he's the Father, something like
Exactly. And so like, but people have to understand, like, and this is my whole problem with that. People, it's very clear to understand this. Just because Jesus Christ is God does not mean God does not have to follow his own rules. Like, I know that sounds crazy to say that, but like legitimately, if I was a spirit, like God even says in the Bible that I'm a spirit. So if God says I am a spirit, and then he makes himself into a physical form that he's already made rules for those physical beings to abide by. Now he sent himself into the same world as a physical being. Just because he's God does not mean that he does not have to abide by those rules. And exactly with that verse that you're looking up right now, if he was not to abide by the rules as Jesus Christ, as God, that literally what you're talking about right now is what will happen. Like the verse that you're looking for.
So yeah, so what I'm gonna do, read because I think this is still very I'm being a Christian now, so I think this is really really nice. So this is a verse from Matthew. This is from the book of Matthew, the King James Version, chapter 5, and this is one of the proverbs that I've always heard. So it says, "Let your light shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven." Chapter 17, verse 17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. All right, so here we go. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or tittle shall in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled.
Right. So he has to fulfill the law. Jesus Christ did it.
But still,
and you read it right before you said it, though. I'm just saying that's what I'm saying. You have to read when you read the Bible. You also have to realize what you're saying. You read it right before he said it. He said he finished the law. He is the finishing to the law. That was what you said right before it. At least that's what I thought.
Into the 10 environments. And then it goes to the 10 commandments: thou shalt not kill, and whoever shall kill shall be in danger of judgment. But I said to you that whosoever is angry with their brother without
of your heart.
Yeah.
So this is,
but the thing is, though, man,
reading, you're starting to have understanding of some of the stuff that I'm saying, though. Like I have been saying. So like, and I don't mean to cut you off in a bad way, but that. So that's what I was trying to explain. Like Jesus Christ's purpose is to complete it, and the only person that can complete it is God. And I know it's crazy to say this, but God had to send Himself. People always ask like, why God sent Himself as man or whatever the case may be. Is because we're the only beings that He chose to do that for. So it's like realistically, in order to save us, He had to be us as well. Like He couldn't be slain as a literal lamb. Like, but that's metaphorically speaking for the sacrifice that He is. So like in order to be all that, He had to go into the world of sin. So the verse that you're talking about, if nothing was completed and Jesus Christ failed at doing everything and decided to fall into temptation, the world will go into turmoil. Exactly what you just read. The heavens and earth will be battling against each other. All that will be happening. So, but He didn't do that. He fulfilled the law when He died on the cross. So that's a whole other part. But like what I was trying to explain earlier with like people having two interpretations, like sometimes it's not two interpretations. Sometimes it's like, well, all the body of Christ, and that's part of the word too. So one of the things that I make sure I do is make sure anything that I say to people, I can always tie it back to the Bible. I don't just say things and just be like, oh, this is part of the Bible, or this is how God wants it. Anything I say out of my mouth, I can always take you to the Bible where I've gotten that revelation from. So it's not like me just spewing stuff out my own my own butt. Like, I hate to say that. Some Christians do that, and a lot of pastors do that. But a lot of things that I'm speaking on, I could take you to I could take you directly to the Bible when I say it.
This is based on the song, a gospel song. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost its savor, wherein shall it be salted? It is therefore good for nothing but to be cast out, to be trodden under the foot of men. You are the light of the world. See, there's that on a hill cannot be hid. But okay, so when you say, for instance, like the creation, the 7 days, from the time that God said, "Let there be light," and then at the end, He created Adam and Eve. So you believe that the Big Bang and all the creation of the planets and the stars and stuff was a thing then?
I do not believe in the Big Bang. Let me say this. I believe in the Big Bang in the aspect of like, all right, let me correct this. I don't believe in the Big Bang in the aspect of like space and stuff.
And it doesn't mean that you're right or wrong.
No, I'm just saying I don't believe space. I don't believe that Earth is. I don't believe the Earth is round. I think we're on a flat plane.
So you don't think the Earth? You don't think that space is real, and you don't believe that the Earth is a spheroid?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't believe. Yeah, I mean, I'm just. My reason for space not being real is I have multiple questions, but my main thing is that fire needs oxygen to burn, right? Like we all know this,
but
right?
The sun is not fire. The sun is not fire, though.
No. But it creates heat. What else creates heat, though? No. Hold on. My question is this, though. It's a great burning fire. It's a great burning flame, even the stars. And so, even if that's the case, let's just say this. Even if it's not flames, right? Why is space dark?
They actually have evidence for it. It's called dark matter. That's what that is called.
Jeff, let's be very honest here. This is why I had to ask people questions. People trying to say dark matter is legitimate. Hold on. I'm gonna ask this question real quick. Let me say this real quick. This one makes sense. This one. So people trying to say dark matter is legitimately in between the sun and the earth, legitimately in that little space that's between there. But it's only there. Like the earth literally goes from the sun to like the dark. So where's the dark matter? Is it only in between the sun and the earth, and then it's all around that? But the light goes straight through the dark matter into earth. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like to say that there's, to me, in my opinion, to say that there's outer space when we've really never, like, even the satellite systems, even they say the way we say we orbit, like if we're spinning and then things around us are spinning and then all this stuff is spinning, how the heck are satellites keeping up with us? Because they can't even move at the speed of light. And they're saying that we're moving that fast.
We're not moving at the speed of light. The earth spins around 10,000 some miles per hour.
How can you count that? Because you have. But how can you count that? Because in order to see how fast something's going, you have to have a start and the end point. This is why I ask people.
You have people that's way smarter than you, sir.
Listen, Jeff. That's why I had to ask you this. But in order to track how fast something's moving, you have to have a start and an end point. So somebody has to be standing on the outside of Earth in order to see how fast it's moving.
But anyway, the fact that that you would say that the Earth is not that's not flat, it's evidence that proves that. Have you ever heard of the Coriolis effect?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, so if the Earth was flat and wasn't spinning, that would not be wind. Like, for instance, wind that blows across the Earth in the upper atmosphere, it would just come in a straight line, like towards the poles and the equator.
Jeff, you've been on a plane before, right?
Say again?
You've been on a plane before, right?
Yeah, I've been on the plane.
All right. So let me ask you this question: When do you ever see curvature looking out the plane window? Honestly.
I have to really think about it now.
Because you don't. Because you don't. When you're looking out the plane window, anytime you're looking at the plane and the plane is flying straight.
You don't see curvature. You don't see curvature until you get up really high up in altitude. If you look at the rocket launches and stuff like that, that's the only time when you get up like so high in the atmosphere up into like outer space. That's the realize that our atmosphere is like very thin when you look at the grand scheme of things compared to like the mantle and the inner core and all that stuff like that. But anyway, I don't understand how people can still think that the Earth is flat in this day and age. When you look at an average storm, look at a hurricane.
I'm telling you
The
right
fact
now
that
how we think about it.
the fact that a hurricane is spinning is not by accident. It's because of the Earth's spin on its axis that causes shit to rotate.
Jeff, let me tell you something. We could create more tornadoes in bottles, bro. Like things like that is a lot of
tornadoes.
Hold on, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Things like that can be created. Listen, things like that can be created. And look, you're asking a question, and I'm providing you a whole answer. You say I don't understand how people can think that the Earth is flat. Because listen, legitimately, I'm telling you right now, the rocket launches that you're talking about, they have been proven to be fake. Like they have been proven to be fake. Hold on. People have disproven curvature throughout whole times. Like and that's why I had to ask you if you've gotten on a plane before and you've lived high up. Hold on, you don't have to be. Listen, when you get on some planes, you go above the clouds. Some planes, listen, I was just on one. Some planes fly so high the cloud. Jeff, you gotta listen. Some things fly up over top of certain clouds. When you look out of it, you're literally looking at a straight plane of clouds for miles. And then even on top of that, curvature has legitimately been disproven. And on top of that, explain what sea level, because every water comes to a level. So why isn't like legitimately water has to be in a container?
So let me tell you something. Because and you have gravity. So if you ever look at like a ship that's going over the horizon, for instance, you'll notice that it'll disappear over time
because your eyes aren't strong enough to see that far.
No. That's because of the Earth's curvature, sir.
Jeff, look, when we leave out of here, I'm gonna send you the information. It's because your eyes aren't strong enough. If you have binoculars, or a strong enough lens, you can still see that boat.
No. That's what I was going to say. If you have the observatory, whatever the things that they use for the thing. So now I understand. Now I respect you as a person. I'm not trying to make you feel silly or anything. But now I understood you better. I understand you more now that the fact that you think that the Earth is flat. If you think the Earth is flat in this day and age, I cannot. I will always respect you.
If you believe NASA really sent somebody to the moon, if you really believe NASA really sent somebody to the moon, or if you believe our satellites are following us as we move throughout space in no real direction, then I'm sorry. Like legitimately, that doesn't make any sense. How do we lose cell? Hold on. If we have cell towers and cellular satellites, why do we lose signal with our cell phones as we fly on planes? And we're getting closer to the satellites.
You don't lose signal per se. You can still use your shit.
When you talk, you gonna say we don't lose signal when you fly on planes, bro?
They tell you to turn stuff off. They tell you to turn the stuff off because it can interfere with this.
During the takeoff, when you're on the plane for a while and it becomes level, you are allowed to use your phone. That's why Southwest provides free Wi-Fi. I know what I'm talking about. That's why Southwest provides free Wi-Fi. Yeah. I was literally just texting my fiance on her flight yesterday to North Dakota. I know for a fact you could text on a plane with Wi-Fi. If you do not have Wi-Fi, you lose cell service, which is why you have airplane mode. So I'm gonna say this again: if we have cellular satellites in the atmosphere, why do we lose signal? And I'm gonna ask you this again: how do said satellites, all satellites that shot into the atmosphere, quote unquote, how do they follow us? I'm asking a question: how do they follow us? And really, I really want you to think about this because you're saying you don't understand it. I'm giving you a reason. I'm asking you solid questions. How are satellites?
I have evidence. I can pull up evidence right now and show you that a satellite is real. I can show you the weather system.
I'm gonna ask you this question again. I'm not saying the satellites aren't real. What I'm saying is they're not following us and they're not in our atmosphere. I believe that we're legitimately in the firmament as the Bible speaks. Hold on. And I'm gonna say this part two. And I'm gonna ask you this again. How are satellites or anything that's in our atmosphere following us where we're not going in any specific direction? Like that's my thing. How are they keeping up? Because even if we're moving whatever miles per hour, the satellites, they're saying that the Earth is spinning, then the sun is spinning, and then our universe is spinning, and we're all going into some random ass direction. And I'm asking for any scientist person to ever believe this. How do we even get to the moon? How do we get to any of these things? How are we even keeping track of this stuff? Because we're moving in random ass directions. And that's what they're saying. I'm not making this up. This is what people are saying that's happening in outer space. So to me, that doesn't make sense.
I disagree with you. Facts look like I said, the Coriolis effect. And then let me answer the question about the satellites. So the satellites, as they're moving or how they're not really suspended. They are moving. They have a terminal velocity of falling towards the Earth as well as being projected out at the same time. So that's why, like when on the International Space Station or whatever, when you see those people, they seem like they're floating in the air, or whatever that medium is. That's because they're falling. That's because they're falling. That's because they're technically falling towards the Earth. But because of the speed of the actual satellite or the International Space Station or whatever,
Was that what they taught us in science class when we was growing up, Jeff?
Say again.
Was that what they taught us in science class when we was growing up, Jeff, or did they come up with that new theory as we got older?
But sir.
No. Answer my question, Jeff. Answer my question. Stop spinning off the topic. Answer my question real quick. That's the thing. This is what I don't look. This is what gets me. This is what gets me about people who don't believe in the Bible or who believe in outer space. I'm gonna answer your question directly, straightforward. When you ask me a question, but that's what I'm saying. Like, yo, you really gonna sit here and say that? But I'm asking you a very direct question.
The Bible is a real thing. It's a real thing, but it's not historically sound.
It's definitely sound. It's definitely historically sound. David was a real King David was a real person that was proven. The flood that the Bible's the only holy text that talks about the flood that's been proven to happen. You would have said that's all theory that's been proven. Science, look, your science is proven.
It's the same thing with giants existing.
Giants
from
the
angel of having sex with the fallen angels having sex with the humans. That's not true. There's no evidence.
What are you?
Oh,
Jeff, you really don't think that's true, bro?
I don't think it's true.
There is. There's been all right, so Jeff, hold on. I'm really gonna help you out on this one. There has always been historical proof of giants throughout all history. Hold on. And I can give I'm trying to help you out here, bro. I'm really being serious with you. I can give you different Aztec cultures. I can give you different Indian, Native American cultures. I can give you different folklores, all that stuff. And hold on. That trace back all the way prior to when any text was written. Like there's even Native American cult, like the tribes that still talk about their tribal people being connected to giants. Like that's what I'm not saying. I'm not sitting here talking about like I am going to say there were extremely big giants because there's been historical proof to show that the world was bigger in those times. Like there was a lot more landmass, that animals was bigger. You could look. See, this is the thing. When you talk about proof and stuff, I could send you historical proof. I could send you scientific proof. I could send you people's like traditions and other cultures. And it's like you're going to be like, no, giants are real. But if I send you archaeological people who've lived digging up giant bones, femurs, skulls for decades, for hundreds of years, you still won't believe it. The Aztecs legitimately have their rituals were to giants. Like legit, not my fault. Not the Aztecs.
I would believe. So, the thing is too. When you say evidence, when I say evidence, or when people say evidence, you have to be careful with that as well, because evidence can be anything that can prove something, be used to prove something, but it has to be sound evidence, as they call it, sound evidence that can actually literally not, because for instance, like you got the doctrine, I'm pretty sure we have a lot of movements now in the Black community, so going back to Black people, and like I said, I don't want to hold you up too much, but I really would like to continue to talk about this. You have all these different, they say, like, for instance, Black people were already here in the United States, Turtle Island and stuff like that. So the earth we had, if you want to be literal about it, there was evidence for a supercontinent called Pangea, but it didn't mean that the earth was bigger than what it was, sir.
Jeff.
So, but anyway,
listen, I'm about to help y'all here. Listen, I'm about to help y'all here. I'm gonna send you stuff because I got this so much stuff. If I remember, when I first started training under you, right? When I first started training under you, you never flew on an airplane before, right? Right. Yeah. I've been on it several times since then.
You have ever since then, but before then, you never had that perspective.
No, I always still thought that the earth was flat even then, Jeff. I just didn't look. I'm gonna be very honest with you. when we have conversations, especially in that atmosphere, like I'm working, so I'm not gonna give you 100% of my real opinion while we're working at the same time. But also, yes, like
Yeah, of course.
but this is what you have to understand. Like a lot of the times, like I could go back and forth with people about like, okay, what studies is showing what. But I also like to use real personal experiences because I think science is two ways. Science is also like, you know, testing things, but it's also about actual experience. Like you could test an ant colony 1,000 different times, but one ant colony might do something different. You know what I'm saying? Because they may be a different species of ant that you've never seen before, but it might look like something else. So me personally, like, yeah, I'm not gonna. I couldn't give you the example of flying in the plane then because I ain't never been in a plane. But when I got on the plane, on top of the fact that I know that water, like right now, this bottle of water right now, this water is flat. It's on a level plane. Water always levels out. So no matter what you want to say, any liquid always levels out when it's put into a container. So like even if I was to take this water and start spinning it and it comes out the top, it's not going to be contained by gravity. Like it's not going to be contained by gravity. And we have gravity around us, quote unquote, what we're saying. So if I was to take this water and start spinning it out this daggone bottle, it should be able to cling back to itself, cling to the middle. But that's what gravity said, in my opinion. This is what I'm saying. This is my opinion. So in my opinion,
that's the thing, though. That's the thing. You have people that's smarter than you, though, and they have already tested, proven certain things.
Jeff, listen. But I agree with you on that one. But if I'm listening to studies too of people who are smarter than me that also ran studies, or people who ran studies, the boat test that you're talking about, that test has been ran on both sides, and legitimately on the flat earther side, I've literally watched the same study of a boat going, quote unquote, over horizon and it disappearing because our eyes can't see that far down the daggone street. But if you use binoculars or something that has a strong enough lens to see it, you will still see the boat, and there's no curvature. And hold on,
let me pull up something. If you got something, you can send it to my email. And I said, if you have something, and like I say, like I'm not trying to be disrespectful to you or anything. You know, cool. It's all cool beans. I hope you don't take it as I'm being disrespectful. It's just we are disagreeing. It's just we disagree. Like even the first time before I went on your podcast, you know, you was saying, we had a little debate about time and stuff, about how it's relative and stuff. So I understand now. I understand a little bit of how you think now, and you know, because at first I thought we was on the same page, but we're not when it comes to certain things. When it comes to
Jeff, and this is no insult to you either. So I'm happy that I never think we're insulted. I always think the conversation that you and I have is always a level of respect and trying to understand each other. So you'll never have to put that disclaimer with me. I don't ever think you don't ever come out disrespectful. But I will say, Jeff, I always knew that you stood on different ends of that, regardless of it, because and it's okay to be this, but you're more of and I say this a lot, you're more of a 1 + 1 = 2 person. To me, there's two type of people in the world. There's people who are more like, I need a exact proof and answer for it, which is fine sometimes. And then there's some people like myself who are more on like, I can get the 100% answer, but I also can see the other side that doesn't need a whole answer to it. Like in my opinion, this is just me. I will do this the next time for you, and I'll send you some stuff too. But like, there's a bunch of studies and there's a bunch of tests that show the Earth is flat. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, even like I'm gonna keep bringing up the fact that the water levels itself out no matter where you're at. Like, that's a testament to the Earth being flat. And then even if you're a believer in the Bible, this is why I think any Christian that really doesn't believe that the Earth is flat, the Bible talks about a firmament. The Bible literally says the Lord split the water from above from the water below, creating a firmament. Like, there's a dome above us, there's a seal above us. I can even bring up science about the fact that proves from a rainbow having an arch, like legitimately. But I ain't gonna get into all that. You know what I'm saying? That's for another day.
A true rainbow, if you look at it from a certain vantage point, it's a complete circle. It's just never an end to it because in the refraction, that interaction changes. So, but let me just tell you, sir.
No, hold on. It's not the fact. Hold on. It's not the fact that the rainbow is a circular or a circle. It's not that. It's the fact that it has an arch to it in and of itself, and that is not. Look, hold on. And I'm explaining this. It's the fact that the rainbow is not a straight line in and of itself. So a natural rainbow, you can do this outside in your yard. We could do this at home. We could do all this stuff. A natural rainbow has an arch to it, right?
Now,
Hold on. I'm gonna give you this. I'm gonna give you all this information to you because I know you're gonna ask me for it. But all natural rainbows have an arch, or like you said, a complete circle about it. Unnatural rainbows, which you can make at home with a flashlight, a mirror, and a bottle of water, is a straight line. Or even when you get a rainbow off a piece of a glass, it's a straight line. And the reason why there's a arch to it is because if you know how a rainbow works, it's a reflection of the moisture in the air. What is it reflecting off of?
It's not a refraction. It's
So rainbows not a reflection of light from the water particles in the air. No, I'm asking you seriously. That's not what a rainbow is. It's not a reflection of the light from the water particles in the air.
It's actually no. It's a refraction. If you look at an actual rainbow with the different colors, it's a refraction of the light that's hitting the water. It's a difference between refraction and reflection.
But regardless of it, it has.
But either way,
what I'm saying, it has to have a. This is my point, Jeff. This is what I'm saying. Regardless of it, it still requires water, light, and a clear something for it to pass through. That's all I'm saying. It has to be some type of, and for a rainbow to happen, something clear to pass through.
What shape is the light? What shape is the light of that's? What shape is the light?
It's the same shape as the light source, and was creating the reflect. And was creating. I forgot the word that you used. It was creating the reflection, which is the dome refraction, which is the dome over top of us, and the light source, which is the sun, which is circular. So it creates a semicircle or a whole circle.
Do you think the sun?
Say that again.
Think the sun is a flat circle? Do you think the sun is a flat circle?
Oh, that's a good question. Do I think the sun is a flat circle? That's a good question.
Yeah, got
no, for real, that's a really good question because I don't. You want me to be very honest with you?
Yeah.
I don't. So I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't focus on that because I don't think that's a real premise. Like it serves no real purpose to understanding like what like the purpose of the sun. That's another thing. I think we've hyper focused too much on like the sun and like it's just there to create heat.
Why wouldn't it?
Because it's literally just there to create heat. Like nothing else.
No, it doesn't. The sun has a gravitational an electromagnetic field. Do you realize that we've been experiencing the aurora borealis as far as Virginia and like a latitudinal line that's extending like from around North Carolina all the way down to like middle California? Have you noticed?
I'm gonna say, Jeff, I'm gonna say this. I don't necessarily, it's gonna sound rough. I don't really necessarily care for the quote unquote effects that the global warming and things like that. It's not that important to me. The earth is going to come to its end. The earth has done all this stuff plenty of times before. So what I mean by the sun, I don't mean it like it's not important. Like clearly it's necessary for sustaining life here, but it's like to look at it and be like, I wonder if the sun is flat to the firmament, or is it up again, or if it's behind it. I don't really care too much for it because it's just there doing what it's supposed to do. Like that's literally what it is. So when people even ask me about the moon, I don't necessarily care, or I don't look at it in that much of an important factor as it does what its job is supposed to do. Just like the rain does what the rain is supposed to do. Just like the snow does what the snow is supposed to do. All the seasons actually have a reason and an effect for them. So I don't look at the seasons like Mother Earth. Look at stuff that.
Everybody has seasons like we have though. So what do you have to say about that?
No, everybody doesn't have seasons as long as we have them. But not everywhere. Most places that have let me say this. Most places that have the same type of like it's hard to find the word I'm looking for.
Weather, climate.
Do have climate. The seasons, but they might not be in full. Like we might not get them all. Like prime example, Florida is a lot hotter throughout the year than up here is, but they still go through its time of the year when it's kind of cold. Yeah. Like their winter or their falls. Like you know what I'm saying. So I'm not saying like we all go through them, but I'm just saying for myself, I don't look at these things like nature and stuff like that as like something that I really. Like I'm worried about or I'm focused on, because in my opinion, like realistically, everything that does not pertain to how I treat you, how you treat me, how I think, how I feel about everybody, like it don't really necessarily matter. Like I'm not a big person on like the whole recycling and stuff like that. I don't believe in littering purposefully. Like I don't think you should be out here throwing trash out on the ground and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But my opinion, I don't really care whether or not people recycle because I don't think it really makes a difference. People are still going to trash. People are still going to litter. Everybody does not recycle. Like I know plenty of companies.
That's a whole nother story,
yeah,
because
like that's what I'm saying. Like for me, it just don't matter.
The whole earth.
Yeah, like to me, like
I mean, we just other people in the world.
Yeah, like to me, that stuff just. I mean, not saying that's not important. It's just I don't look at it like an aspect. That's what I'm saying. It was a good question because I mean, you know, I always tell people this. I don't know if you remember that on my show, but like I always tell people this. Like there's questions like when I die, I don't want to ask God like why X, Y, Z. Like I have questions like kind of like that. Like yo, is the sun a freaking ball or is it flat? Like to me, the questions that we really don't have answers for and stuff that I would rather ask God than like I don't know. I'm just a little bit different. So like, yeah, no.
We do have answers though. We do have answers for this. We have answers. We do have answers, sir.
We don't.
We got answers.
We don't, Jeff. We don't.
We do. Some of the stuff we don't have answers for, but like a lot of the stuff, like the Earth is not round, by the way. It's a spheroid. So that means that it's not even it's like a sphere. It's not even a perfect sphere.
It's a circular shape. It's a circular shape. I'm getting it. I look, Jeff. The thing is this: I'm not dumb, and I have very good conversations, and I've looked up this information myself. I understand the whole. I know. I'm just saying I understand the whole concept. I know it. I get it. What I'm saying is this: to me, it still don't make sense. I'm gonna keep saying this over and over again. I've seen
just because it doesn't make sense.
Hold on.
Because it doesn't make sense. It's not true. It's the same thing with the Bible.
Hold on.
You can argue that with the Bible.
Hold on. Hold on. I could disagree with a lot of things and say no. I don't think that the Bible doesn't make sense. I think people choose for it to not make sense. But if I'm sitting here honestly asking you a question, even like I said about the satellites, about the fact that legitimately the curvature, and we can argue back and forth on curvature, but curvature has been disproven, and from your opinion and from some studies that I've watched too, like it has been proven. So like that has whether the Earth is flat or round has not been proven. There's still a hard argument on what it is, and I'm gonna say this. I could pull up several articles of people of the moon boom not matching the print. Like there's so many things. Like there's documentary interviews of people admitting to the fact that they never went on a spaceship to fly to the moon. Like there's plenty of things like that could go back and forth on that. So to me, yeah, there are things that we cannot explain. Even with us talking about right now, like the fact that you don't believe that the Earth was bigger, where there's plenty of studies to show that maybe some of the mountains, like Mount Everest and some of the other mountains, were just giant trees. There's actually, I'm gonna look it up for you. There's actually one natural whatever that they literally thought it was a mountain for years until they found roots going like 20, 30 miles far out. They realized it was a giant tree. So like there's a lot of things that kind of go differently. And then on top of that, I'm gonna say this, Jeff. I'm gonna say this too. As a person who struggles with, you know, fully understanding or believing the Bible, what do you say about supernatural things like demons, angels, people who actually practice witchcraft, like who actually say they sacrifice
I wanted
things
to talk about that. I really want to talk about that. So black magic.
What do you think about that?
Black magic, or like the roots or whatever. Now, I mean, basically, the only way
that they can affect you, they'll be mad about that. I was cracking the joke. I said, "Don't lump them all in one." They'll be mad about that.
Yeah, but that's something that can be proven and demonstrated, like something like that. Because, like for instance, if someone put something in your food or something, is the way a lot of people, it's not like, from what I understand, people doing stuff. It's not like they have like these little dolls or whatever. You know, what's like the voodoo
dolls.
Yeah,
that's some of them though, Jeff. That's some of them. Like this is. Yeah, no, but that's some of them. Some. All right. What I mean by this is this. There's some of them who don't use voodoo dolls. There's some of them like the TikTok spiritualists and the people who do the crystals and stuff like that. Like there's just like Christianity is a bunch of blends of them. Like I'm talking about just for the fact that we know that there's people out here that are actively saying that they worship demons and the devil himself, Satan himself, and they believe that they manifest or conjure up these demons. What do you think? If there is a opposite, so let's just use a negative. If there's an opposite, and there's Satan himself, do you not think that there has to be the opposite to the evil, which is God? If you have a lot of people, a lot of negatives saying that they believe in Satan, the Illuminati,
demonstrated. One can be demonstrated. One can be demonstrated, the other one cannot be demonstrated. You can't just look at one and say, okay, for instance, you can look at some of these organizations throughout the globe, even in the US, like the Freemasons and stuff like that. You look at you can be now or edit it with AI. But I have seen where someone did a ritual. It was a voodoo ritual. I think it was somewhere in the Caribbean where the person was sitting on fire. They weren't being burned.
Okay.
They were sitting and going through the fire. It was a big.
No, I look, Jeff. And here's the thing.
But you don't
this
see.
This is why I am a believer, because this is why I am a believer, because I actually have. Let me say this. I've been in contact and I've talked to people. When I say I've exposed myself, or I've been in contact, or I've talked to a lot of people with multiple religions, I don't even shy away from people who really like. I'm not even talking about voodoo, Jeff. I'm talking about people who like. There's books that you can read. He came to set the captives free, Out of the Devil's Cauldron, that talk about occult following, like legit occult following. People who claim to be Jewish people, but they're really devil worshippers, satanic. Like, I'm not just talking about like the regular like people who do it for show and stuff like that. That's what I was asking. If I'm not talking about the nice side. If there's people, occult members, there's real people who sit in here say, let's just use the music industry. We all know that the music industry has the whole conspiracy thing behind it, but realistically, if every single one of them is doing some type of ritual thing, and people can go back and do their own research and realize how this is this type of ritual, or realize that okay, these are these symbolisms to go with this type of cult, like there has to be some truth in that. So what I'm sitting here saying is, if you know there is an evil side, why is it hard to believe that there is a actual good side, especially if there a lot of these things are going straight from and this is the thing. And so I agree with you. The evil forces have no problem with showing you that they're going to be evil and giving you the lie up front, because it's easier to deceive you that way. And I'm just going to be honest with you. It's easy to make you show you like, hey, I can wade through fire because I'm a spiritual being. And this is why I had to say, Jeff, you have to understand, if you really want to understand the Bible and things like that, you kind of have to remove the actual 1 + 1 = 2 aspect to it, because there's spiritual things that go into it. So if you believe that the voodoo things, then there's proof and stuff that can be shown behind it. You have to understand, if there's black magic or evil magic, there has to be good spirits, or because I'm not like using the word magic when it comes down to God, but like you have to understand that there's good magic or there's God on the outside of it. Like there can't be a negative without a positive. So if there's a negative side, there's people who believe in a cult, people who are drinking animal blood, sacrificing people. I've read books and I've met people who actually used to be in cult stuff and used to do this shit. So that's what I'm saying. This stuff is not fake.
Look at that. Like, even look at the Old Testament, for instance, like when they were sacrificing animals. And in the Muslim world, they still sacrifice animals. Which is Islam.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, what's the difference? What's the difference? Like, you don't see the miracles that have been performed. Like, people.
We don't have
like,
to
for
anymore.
Instance, I understand, but
it's the premise of it.
I'm saying this though as a point of. I'm saying this as a point of like like for instance, I hear what you're saying, and I don't agree, but I'll agree to disagree, because you say that when you say that it don't have to be all right, it don't have to be right, because I remember the last time we talked, I think you were saying something about like if God proves himself to us, it's like he's doing it on his command or something.
If he went off and if you asked him to prove it out, I was saying, if you asked him to, like, right now, if you was like, hey God, prove yourself to me, and he did it right now, he'd be doing it as a genie, I guess, if he's doing it on your command and not his own time.
But why would it have to be like that though? How would you be able to knowledge to know that, or like to be able to even say something, to even be able to say that?
Because I'm humble enough to know that God doesn't have. I'm humble enough, and I respect God enough to know that He doesn't have to go and prove Himself. It's like your parent. I know, like, you don't have to go and ask your parent to prove to you that they're your parent. Realistically, they're a good parent. They're already doing it, and you already had that respect for them off rip. So because I have that understanding and respect for God off rip, and I understand His purpose and what He does for me, I already have that respect and understanding from Him. So that's realistically what it is. And to answer your question, what's the difference between the Israelites and every other world sacrificing, is who and what they were sacrificing it for. So God never asked for human sacrifice or anything like that. From, especially not mistaken, like not in the essence of like actually sacrificing us so he can eat it and stuff like that. It's not the same. Like, yeah. Did you say hold on? Like, that's not the same. Also, God only acts for. God only acts for a so that's one thing, and two, it's not for selfish reasons. God, a lot of the times, the sacrificing and stuff, animals are so much more associated with it because realistically, the animal was the main thing that the Israelites had as like prophet in those times. They were all shepherds, so realistically, most of the time, all they had to give as an offering was either grain, an animal, or something like that. It just wasn't like that they had other possessions, especially in those times, to give God. And honestly, after a while, which is why God sent himself in here so that we wouldn't have to do those type of things anymore, because it really doesn't even matter. It became pointless because they could not follow the stuff and the rituals, and not governments use rituals or the ways that God put in place. So that's why he brought himself and he used himself as a sacrifice. So the difference really is who and what are you sacrificing it for? I could sacrifice. That's what I was telling you earlier about fasting. Like, I don't fast now because I don't feel like I'm in the right relationship with God or in the right place right now to really give a wholehearted fast to God. So that's my opinion. It could be food. It could be it could, like you said, it could be something I give up personally, whatever the case might be. I just don't feel like I'm in a place where I've had a real relationship with God where I'm giving something out of my heart instead of like out of feeling guilty. Like, that's a difference. So that's a way of, that's, to me, that's like giving a sacrifice. So it's, when we look at the Bible, especially the Old Testament, people take things for the Old Testament so literal for today's things. Like you just said, we're in 2023. Like, the stuff that people did in the old times in the Bible, it's, unless you can look at it and understand, like, this is their prophet, this is how they move, this is this XYZ. It's always going to be hard to try to understand that how it correlates to the other one. But realistically, like, they really was only sacrificing animals a lot of times, but animals because of all they had. Say that again.
But people don't really understand. I mean, I don't think people really understand. You know, people talk about the plagues and the God showing its, it's describing God's act of wrath and stuff. In Testament, really, the New Testament is nothing to be played with either when you look at it. But anyway, we had 2 hours. Since we're at 2 hours, I'm gonna break this off, and then we're gonna do another live. Not tonight, but unless you wanted to talk about something else. But I'm gonna break this off. Use any social medias or anything like that?
No, I'm good on right now. I'm good.
I'm okay. Yeah. What were you about to say before I cut you off?
No, you good. I don't even know. To be honest, I forgot that clip.
Oh man, I got a dude that I should have called him. Yeah, I should have called him. Oh man. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna break off and we'll do another live, and we're gonna be talking about probably flat earth, round earth, or whatever. We're probably gonna do something like that, talk about that. That'd be nice and juicy. And then we can talk, because religion is really really good. It could have been a little bit better. We're talking about the black folks, but anyway, it's good. We still got.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, just let me know when
live.
let me know.